Let's install the best oil pan on the market for my 4G63. The Infinite Evo oil pan. Now what Mike has done is he has designed an oil pressure regulator to go into the side of the pan, and he has redesigned how oil returns to the pan from the block. So in a normal application, it returns to the backside here, kind of behind the pickup. And under acceleration, when you're wide open throttle, all the oil is actually returning back here, and the G-forces is keeping it in the backside of the pan away from the pickup. Now what he has done is redesigned how it flows from the oil filter housing. So there's this line that comes from the oil filter housing out of a tube, and it flows into the pressure regulator, and then there's a pipe in here that runs to right about here. And so now under acceleration, the oil flows back right into the center where the pickup, and the little flaps will open, right? They open inward to let the oil, but then the flaps on this side will help trap the oil from leaving the pickup area. Now this pan has been sitting on my shelf for over a year now, so let's go ahead and give it a deep clean first. There's definitely some debris down in there. Give it a good blowout with compressed air too. Ah! Look at that. Cockroach in there. Definitely give it a good look with the flashlight. I do not want anything to be clogging the oil pickup. Now we can go ahead and install the flaps. It is recommended via the instructions to put just a little bit of engine oil on them. That way they slide in easier. Now it's hard to show, but do pay attention that some of these from the molding process have a little bit of excess rubber right in the crease where it's supposed to go into the oil pan. So make sure you snip these out. Hopefully you can kind of see that, but there are some of the little flap trap doors in there. Let's turn the block over. Now we do need to test our clearance for the oil pickup to the new oil pan, but before that we got to mount the Tomei scraper and baffle. Goes in the light plate like so. And then we got the center plate. I'm actually going to use just a dab of blue Loctite on these. For now, I am not going to install the gasket because I don't want to crush it and pretty much use it. So we're just going to get the oil pickup on, and we'll torque down to 19 Newton meters. So I'm going to lay a straight edge across the top. Check with my dial calipers. Bottom of the straight edge, 125 millimeters, 127, so we'll split the difference at 126. Now we'll check it in the pan, 133 millimeters. Now we can install our gasket. Throw just a little dab of blue Loctite on these. And then torque them to 19 Newton meters. Next up, we can install the Infinite Evo tube that goes to the oil filter housing and make sure that the O-ring is on there. There's originally a pressure sensor switch type thing here with the spring and everything. I've already removed that, but there is a cap right here. With the 17 miller, I can make sure it's nice and snug. With some brake cleaner and rag, let's go ahead and prep the sealing surface for the oil pan. Now I did just realize I can't fully install the oil pan yet because I don't have the rear main seal on, because the oil pan seals on this surface. So I got a fresh rear main seal. I've cleaned and prepped this surface, and I've cleaned and prepped this surface. Let's go ahead and get a coat of 3-bond on there around the sealing surface. Got it evenly distributed, and we'll also get a little bit of oil on the rear main seal. Smear that around. There we go. Make sure you line up the dowels, and we'll give it a tap on in there. It's gonna be tight, but I think I might be able to get the torque wrench in here after I snug these down as far as they'll go. Just barely. Torque them to 19 Newton meters. Go ahead, wipe down the sealing surface of the oil pan as well. I wanna make sure everything's as clean as possible. Now we can apply our coat of 3-Bond. Start smearing this around. I know it looks a little goopy at the moment. Definitely want to make sure you fill in all these little lines that are along the side of the pan. It's a little warm out, so this stuff is runnier than usual. For me personally, I've always sealed out the gasket like this, and it has worked out well for me. I can't think of a time I've had a leaking pan. If any got on the inside, give that a wipe down. Okay, let's go ahead. Gently drop it on there. Nice, that went good. We can start putting the pan bolts in, but do pay attention to your bolts, because on this side, that bolt to the bottom of the oil pump, there are some shorter ones that go on this side.
Now normally when I'm snugging down the oil pan, I try to kind of go corner to corner, crisscross, and just kind of keep moving around and across the pan and not just going in a straight line around the entire pan.
Now the oil pressure regulator can be installed in either orientation. Since I have the 9th pan ever made, I actually have the older style hose. One of the newer hoses, it's a little bit shorter and it's a 90 that comes right here. So how mine's going to work, it's going to thread on to the oil filter housing fitting. It's going to coil like this. So since my hose is longer, I'm going to put it to the outside. Now make sure you have this O-ring in here. We're going to throw a little bit of oil on it. Per his instructions, a little bit of blue Loctite is recommended on these bolts. So I will install it this way in case later down the road this is an issue with how much extra we have and I want to go to the shorter line. We will torque these down to 12 Newton meters per his instructions. Now for this AND fitting, on the ORB side, throw a little bit of oil on the O-ring. Make sure that O-ring's on there. Throw it on in. And snug it down with a 22 millimeter. There we go. I think I'll kind of give the line a little bit of a curl like this inward so it's taking up less space, but I am thinking I'm going to want to switch to that other line. So I'm going to hit up Mike. But for now, we'll go ahead and snug both of these down. Put our drain plug in. Now this hole here can be used for, I believe, a temperature sensor, and he does recommend a little bit of thread sealant on this plug for now. And it looks like it's an 11 millimeter. And the pan is fully installed. Now this pressure regulator, I'll read it off the instructions here. The oil pressure regulator comes with a generic oil pressure setting, which is similar to OEM. So this set screw is already set by Mike for around OEM oil pressure, and it requires changes of different grades of oil, 5W30 versus 15W50, etc. So you got to do your own homework and your own messing around to figure out what is the right oil pressure. But per his instructions here, at 176 degrees Fahrenheit and 6,000 RPM, a reasonable oil pressure is between 90 and 100 PSI, so there's a decent baseline for you. So before this pan came onto the market, there was the RaceFab pan, which reigned true for a long time, and people still had pretty good results with it. Now his pan here is a higher step up, and it's not as close to dry sump money, but it does provide some dry sump type properties with this oil pressure regulator. Mike actually did some testing between his pan and the RaceFab pan, and his pan held 30 to 40 more PSI in long right hand sweepers, which are Evo engine killers. Now for me, my 4G63 2.2 liter stroker here is one step closer to being dropped back into my Evo. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell for future videos. Y'all have a good one now. Peace out.